All right, y'all, so we're continuing on with shooting Mount Pleasant. Today we're working our way down to Hamlin Park, which is a townhome community. About 103 carriage house townhomes on about 32 acres of land. And these are right off the Rifle Range Road, across from Hamlin Plantation, and thus the name Hamlin Park, but they're not related to Hamlin Plantation. These are adjacent, like I said, to Hamlin Plantation and a 60-acre conservation easement piece of land that the developer who developed these was D.R. Horton, which is a national developer, gave to the town of Mount Pleasant some years ago, and they turned it into, they've got a park area, and then they have these townhomes. These townhomes are actually pretty cool, I think. They were built early to mid-2000s. So downstairs you've got garage entry and an area that you could finish off if you wanted to. It's not finished in most cases, but it's stuff for plumbing. So if you needed a ground floor, bedroom, you could do that. And then upstairs, the middle floor is the kitchen and living area, and then you got more bedrooms on the third floor. So these do not have elevators, unfortunately, but they do have a lot of space. I think these range from about almost 1,700 square feet on up to almost 2,000, a little over 2,000 square feet. So they're pretty good size, and honestly, for what you get in Mount Pleasant, these are in a really good price point, for the $275 to probably $325 price point, and close to the high school. Wando High School's up the road from here. We're about 10 minutes to Isle of Palms, and real close location to the town center. So you got a lot of shopping, restaurants around all this. But these are ones that I do like if you're wanting to be in Mount Pleasant. Say you have kids and you don't, maybe your price point doesn't afford you to be able to buy, a single family house that fits. These work out, I think, really well because they're tri-level. Most of these back up to a wetlands buffer or woodlands buffer. So they're nice units. And I even looked at buying one of these, and unfortunately I didn't because the prices tanked back in 2005 and they've revived themselves since then. But, D.R. Horton built these. I believe there's some more development to be done back here. I think that they have talked about developing another section of these, but right now there's about 103 of these townhomes. And again, right across from Hamlin Plantation, which we're getting ready to go to next. Right across the street from Hamlin Park is Hamlin Plantation, and Hamlin Plantation is about 800 or so houses and townhomes that are back here. It's on the banks of Hamlin Sound, and this is one of these neighborhoods that I take people to more or less every time I take them out for a driving tour of Mount Pleasant, because it has varying degrees of price points and a lot of southern architecture that people seem to be drawn to. They got a really good clubhouse we'll look at in a second, but first we're going to go into Madison, which is basically, we're going to get really granular on some of these bigger neighborhoods. Madison is a neighborhood of single families and townhomes. This is probably the least expensive setup as far as being in Hamlin. These homes were built late 90s into early 2000s. Most of what we're driving through right now was built by John Whelan, and John Whelan was kind of the lead developer on Hamlin Plantation. And these homes back here in this section called Madison inside of Hamlin Plantation range anywhere from 1,400 square feet to a little over 3,000 square feet. Again, a mix of townhomes with single family homes. And these have the architectural style that a lot of people like. You have the double porches, a lot of Charleston singles back here. But this is a really good section to be in if you're wanting to be in Hamlin and your price point keeps you, these houses, probably the least expensive townhome for 2 bedrooms, probably about $225, and then you go on up to high fives, I would say, is the most expensive single family house back in Madison. And you can see, looking at the townhomes, they've got some architectural style to them. These are very similar to Hamlin Park across the street. They are tri-level, so you've got entry-level garage, and some of these have finished rooms off the back on the main level, and then you've got the middle level as area for your kitchen, and then you've got more bedrooms upstairs. So these don't have master down in 99% of the cases. All right, so we're out of Madison, which again, it's just a subsection inside of Hamlin Plantation, and we're gonna go back into probably the newest and the only area they're really still developing back here in Hamlin Plantation, and that is One Hamlin Place. One Hamlin Place is mainly townhomes. These are really nice townhomes. I take people back here who want good finishes and want to stay south of the 450 range. These, depending on the square footage, can range up to the low 5s, but the ones that are in the low 5s have elevators in them. But these are very well appointed. Probably the best townhomes in Mount Pleasant at this price point, in my opinion. They do have elevator shafts, and the developer's putting elevators in sometimes, I've seen, but mainly they're just putting the shaft in and then you can add the elevator later. These are 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. You've got full underneath parking, so it's an elevated raised style house, and they've got just nice colors to them. The kitchens on these are fantastic. I mean, they're wide open to the main living area. The master on these, unfortunately, is up in 99% of the cases, so unless you put an elevator in, you're gonna have to go up and down stairs to get from the main living area to the master. And these are really close to Hamlin Sound. They're building some that are directly behind us that are brand new. They're just in process of building them, and those are gonna have views out to Hamlin Sound and the backside of Isle of Palms. But these have been very well received. I mean, the demographics back here on these, it's a little bit of an older crowd that lives back here, usually people that are wanting to downsize and maybe their kids are gone. So the ones that I've sold recently have been to people that have just retired and they really like living back here because it sets up really nice and ties into a walking trail into the amenity center, which we're getting ready to go ride through. One of the things that draws people into Hamlin Plantation is the amenities, full amenities, tennis courts, fitness center, a lot of green space. The white building directly in front of us is the clubhouse. It's not a staff clubhouse. It's not like, a golf course clubhouse, but they have a kitchen in there and they have a facility where you can hold a party or whatnot. And then behind the white building is a junior Olympic sized swimming pool with a very cool water slide. So if you've got kids or you like water slides and nice pools, Hamlin Plantation has one of the better amenity centers. And at the shooting of this video, Hamlin's Homeowners Association, which basically covers the pool and the tennis courts and fitness center and green space and holiday decorations, is about $850 a year, which is a pretty good price, honestly, for the amenities that they offer back here. They've just done through here, again, a lot of walking trails you probably can see, and they've trimmed back the trees. I'm not sure why they did all this trimming that they've done, but it just could be part of what they needed to do. But it opens up, I guess, a little bit better view of the walking trails. And these trails kind of wind through the neighborhoods and tie everything nicely together where you can get to the amenity center. If you have kids, they can ride their bicycles. You can ride a golf cart back here to the amenity center without having to get on the main road, which is what we're on right now. We're going into one of the really, I think, nicer neighborhoods in Mount Pleasant. Is called the Sound. And again, we're still in Hamlin Plantation, but the Sound is all custom built houses that are built on Hamlin Sound. So they overlook the backside Isle of Palms. A lot of these houses do, and just have really pretty views. Good sized lots. So, if somebody comes to me and they say they need 1/3 of an acre or more, and these don't range much more than 1/2 an acre, so don't let me mislead you to think that they're bigger, but they're bigger than anything else back in Hamlin. 1/3 of an acre to 1/2 an acre lots. A lot of low country style architecture, so you've got the pull under parking. There's a lot of lagoons back here that these houses back up to. And again, this is one of these neighborhoods that I take people through that are in the high fives to, $1.5 million. There's some that are directly overlook the backside of Isle of Palms that are a couple of $1 million. But these are good price point house. Most of them, again, were built by custom builders over the years. And this neighborhood is not that old. I think I want to say it's probably the first couple of houses were built back here in the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of really pretty oak trees that line the streets. You've got sidewalks back here. And one thing to keep in mind about this, at the time we're cutting this video, they have relayed the flood map out here. So most everything at one time in the Sound was in a V flood zone, which is not a great flood zone to be in. If y'all have heard me talk before, you want to be in an AE if you're in this area. The houses to the right, a lot of the ones that overlook the Sound that are directly on it, those are still in Vs. The rest of it, for the most part, is in an AE zone, which has made a huge difference in the cost for insurance. And you probably can maybe see through the trees out the Hamlin Sound. But again, the neighborhood that I take people to, and they really like. Sold a few houses back here in the last couple of years, and it's a mix of demographics. Some people are retired age. There's several people I've sold houses to have kids that are raising their kids back here. Close to Isle of Palms, close to downtown Charleston. We're probably, I'd say, 25 minutes to downtown Charleston, and we could probably be out to Isle of Palms in about 10 to 12 minutes. Again, the Sound, it's probably one of the nicer neighborhoods or subsections inside of Hamlin, and one of my favorite neighborhoods in Mount Pleasant. All right, we are still in Hamlin Plantation. We're going to a subsection, which is a neighborhood inside a neighborhood more or less, called Waverly. And Waverly was built again by John Whelan. All these homes in this part of Hamlin Plantation were built by Whelan, again, national developer based in Atlanta, and he's built a lot of houses in Mount Pleasant over the years. These houses range anywhere from probably those over there to the left are in the probably 3s, and then you've got houses, I would say the majority of the houses back here in the 5s and 6s, and some of them went up to probably close to 800,000 if they're overlooking the water. Again, take people back here, and they generally like the construction. These houses are the exact same houses that you see on Daniel Island, and these are about $100,000 less than what that house would cost you on Daniel Island. Because sometimes people want to know the difference between Mount Pleasant and Daniel Island. This is a good example because Whelan builds on Daniel Island, he builds here as well. And these houses are, like I said, $100,000 less than Mount Pleasant for the exact same house. You know, if I was going to buy in Waverly, I would look to buy something probably newer than 2007 or 2008. If you come back here in Waverly and you're looking at a house that was built in 05 or 04, you're going to see a noticeable difference in finish levels. They didn't site finish floors back in 2004 and 5 and 6. They really didn't start site finishing. A site finish floor just means they're not bringing in the floor already finished. They're finishing it on site, which allows you to pick the stain color, and it's just a nicer look to have site finish floors. They're not probably as hardy as something that's done off-site. But the kitchens on these, you know, the floor plans are really open. This is, you know, when people ask me, we want an open concept floor plan, Whelan builds a lot of open concept floor plans, which basically means, you know, you've got the kitchen overlooking the great room. So there's a lot of flow between those two rooms in a house, which seems like a lot of what people want now. And houses back here, you know, range anywhere from probably 2,500 on up to almost 4,000 square feet. There are some townhomes back here, and we'll ride by them here in a second, but you can kind of get a look of these single family homes and screen porches off the backs. The only thing that I think that negative that I get from back here is sometimes, depending on the house and street in Waverly, that you don't have as much privacy. The houses you can see from the video we're shooting are they're tight together. A lot of these houses have good backyards where you do have privacy, and they planted enough trees and bushes when they built these that you go in the backyard, you're not right on top of your neighbors like you kind of see you are from the street. All right, you can see over here we're still in Waverly. These are townhomes, and they're, you know, connected houses. These do have master downs, so if you're looking for something in Hamlin that has a master down, they built most every one of these over here, and these are in the probably 375 to 450 at shooting in this video, and they're about 2,700 square feet. They've got nice open concepts. Every time I show these, people really like these. If they're in the market for a townhome, they like these because of just the floor plans. We've got one more subsection to shoot in Hamlin, and we're going to head over there right now. All right, so we've got one more subdivision inside of Hamlin Plantation we're going to ride through, and this is called the Village. And the Village is a mix of some custom-built houses, some that were built by John Whelan, and the Centra Group was also a builder back here, which is a production builder that builds very similar houses to what John Whelan builds. And the thing that people like about these are spaced out a little more than the subsection we just came out of, which was Waverly. Typically, these homes are 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and they range from it's probably 2,800 square feet. I think probably the biggest one that I've been in back here is probably 3,400 to 3,500 square feet. And, you know, the Village was designed to have some open space. So you're going to see less density back here than you would in Waverly or even Madison, which we rode through at the beginning of the video. And home prices back here go anywhere from probably, you know, the 450s on up to 650, just depending on the square footage and the lot's orientation. And again, back here you have all the amenities that you would have in the other subsections, you know, access to the tennis and the pool. And this neighborhood is the easiest one to access the backside of Charleston National. So if you were a golfer, you could get out of here and go to Charleston National from here without having to go back out to the main area, which would be Rifle Range Road to get there, but you can take a back road to get in. And we're very close, again, still close to Hamlin Sound, and lots of really pretty oak trees, and again, more green space back in the Village subsection of Hamlin than most of the other ones. Okay, y'all, so we are out of Hamlin Plantation, and we rolled through all the subdivisions inside of Hamlin, and we're heading down Rifle Range Road to the north part of Mount Pleasant, and we're going to go into a subdivision called Young Hall as soon as we get around this traffic circle up here. One thing to keep in mind as we go through here, there is a ton of shopping and restaurants. Oakland Plantation is just going to be right up here on the corner, which we'll ride by here in a few minutes. But I don't know what you're seeing on this video, but some of it looks pretty rural. There's actually a lot of stuff around here, and we're very close to Highway 17, which runs through the middle of Mount Pleasant. Again, heading up to Young Hall. Young Hall was a neighborhood that came out of the ground probably in 2000-ish. There are not very many home sites back here, but again, my goal was to chronicle every neighborhood in Mount Pleasant, so this neighborhood has 13 home sites. According to my research, that's how many home sites they have. This has no amenities. They have no amenities back here. These are on bigger lots. I mean, some of these are half an acre to 3/4 of an acre. I like Young Hall as far as the architecture's nice. You have some green space, and you're in a good location, as I mentioned, close to Oakland Plantation, close to Isle of Palms. But I think from a resale standpoint, if I was buying a house, I would focus on a neighborhood that had amenities. Because I think resale, so many people want amenities. Young Hall doesn't have any, but then again, there's a certain percentage of the population that would rather not have the amenities because your homeowners association fee back here is pretty small and you have bigger lot size, so you're not so right on top of your neighbor. And again, right in the middle of Mount Pleasant, so there's a lot of things to do right around where we are right now. All right, so we came out of Young Hall and hopped back on the 17, and we're heading south on 17. And we're gonna go into Royal Palms, which is a townhome subdivision that more or less got started probably, I wanna say 2005. And then the economy fell apart and it sat back here, went through bankruptcy. I think Wachovia had the debt on it. It sold a couple of times and reemerged to people because there were some of the townhomes that early on ones that were built in 05 and 06 were finished, but they hadn't sold. And then again, Wachovia sold the debt. Whoever bought it came in and finished those, or didn't finish them, but put them on the market for sale. And those have sold. And since then, another developer has come in and bought that from the developer who bought it from the bank, and is in the process of developing the rest of Royal Palms. And Royal Palms, I mean, I think that you got to have a little bit of vision about these. These in 10 years are going to be in a super spot. This is all getting redeveloped around here. I mean, you've got a new Walgreens, but all this through here, minus probably the Jehovah's Witnesses, Kingdom Hall over to the left, is probably going to be, sold off and redeveloped into either commercial or more residential. But these are nice townhomes. Again, tri-level. These have bedrooms downstairs. So you have a bathroom and a bedroom. A lot of times people use them for an office. And then you've got a two-car garage, really. I mean, you got to stack the cars. The new ones are being built by Lennar, and Lennar is a national builder. They've built a good bit in Charleston. They haven't built a whole lot in Mount Pleasant that I'm aware of. I think they built some things in Park West, but these over here to our left are the ones that they've recently completed. I've sold a couple of these back here to investors, and they rent out very well because of the square footage. These, I think, are anywhere from 1,800 to about 2,500 square feet. Most of them have hardwoods throughout, maybe the bedrooms don't, but you've got tile in the bathrooms. They back up to, in most cases, to some green space. And honestly, for the price point, these are probably I think the one I sold last year was in the $275 range, and I think the ones I looked at the other day were in the $279 to $285 range. For that square footage and the finish level that you get on these, and the location, again, you gotta have some vision about this location and realize that all this is getting redeveloped around it, and you're close to a ton of stuff. So if you, again, wanted to be in Mount Pleasant and you didn't want to buy a single family house and needed more space, these are good options. They're probably about less than 10 minutes to Wando High School. You're 20 minutes or so to downtown Charleston, and about, I'd say, 12 minutes or so to the beach on Isle of Palms. They don't have any amenities back here in Royal Palms, so you more or less have a small homeowners association. And I don't think there's any plans to build an amenity center. I think it's just they're going to finish out this style it's kind of an arts and crafts style looking townhome from the exterior. Ones that I would put on the list if I was personally going to buy something from an investment standpoint. I think that these things will do very well down the road.